A gracious day and best wishes to everyone. Friends, most of you have asked to explain English literature, that is, what to refer, what to read, and how to prepare for the exam. So, friends, here I am before you to give awareness about the syllabus. So, here we are going to discuss about the 14th century, that is, the age of Chaucer. So, he is one of the famous and greatest poets. He was such famous that the period itself is divided into before the age of Chaucer, Chaucer's age, and after the age of Chaucer. So literature came out into the public during this period, and from here onwards it has become more popular. So literature, in the sense the writings of the poets and the writers, had come into existence as the printing press had started. So most of the writings were published and they were distributed into the public. So because of that, the writings of different poets and writers have become more famous. So now let us see about the age of Chaucer, or the Chaucer's age, where most of the events had taken place which had brought a lot of change in the literature. It is expected that this age is in between 1330s to 1400. So we can even call it as 14th century. Now let us see the events which took place during that time. So in 1337, 100 Years' War between England and France broke out. And in 1346, Battle of Crecy. 1348, breakout of plague, and it is called Black Death. 1380, Lullard movement by Wycliffe. 1381, Peasants' Revolt by Wat Taylor's Rebellion. 1455, the first Battle of Roses began. 1476, Caxton started printing press. 1521, Pope declares Henry VII the little defender of the faith. 1564, birth of Shakespeare. 1592, play closed theatre for 2 years. 1599, first global theatre opened. 1600, East India Company opened. 1611, King James Bible published. 1613, theatre was burned. 1616, the death of Shakespeare. Though here we are able to see the birth and death of Shakespeare, it is called Chaucer's Age because most of the people were mostly influenced by Chaucer's poems. So the first poetry started from him. As this topic is very important in examination point of view, let us begin the course with Chaucer. Many conflict had taken place and many countries were trying to defeat others. During this period, let us see some of the important events had taken place. During this period, we can observe a lot of patriotism raised. English Parliament came into existence. Rapid growth in trade and commerce was observed. As there was a 100 Years' War, there was no proper commerce, or maybe the money availability was very less. Because of that, peasants were suffered a lot. So to remove that, or to avoid that, and to help the peasants, a lot of labor was reduced, and because of that, the commercial trading system had come into existence where a lot of changes were seen. The religious impact was also very vast. Here, Christianity was developed a lot at that time. Pope's rule was in practice and there was full of corruption. The churches were filled with corrupted people and there was no justice to the peasants. Because of that, Wycliffe, one of the writers who developed the prose style, had started Lullard movement to eradicate the evil from the church. During this age, we could see 5 outstanding literary figures who were anonymous. Few writers were anonymous, that is unknown writers, who wrote Sir Gawain, Green Knight, The Pearl, and Langland, Gower, Wycliffe, above all Chaucer were the famous poets and prose writers who became too popular during that age. Now let us see the works of Chaucer. His full name is Geoffrey Chaucer, and his works are The Remount of the Rose, Troilus and Cresside, House of Fame, The Legend of Good Women, Annelida and Arcate, The Parliament of Fowls, The Book of Duchess, and Canterbury Tales. These Canterbury Tales are famous for their vast explanation of love and truth. Now let us see the poetical works of Chaucer during different periods. He was mostly influenced by French, England, and even Italy. During the time of his French period, that is from 1359 to 72, really his writings were just like a French writer. So he was influenced by the French masters like Marquand, Guillaume de Laris, and Jean de Meung. During this period, Remount of the Rose was written. It is an allegorical poem, octosyllabic couplets. It was written in this form, based on Le Roman de la Rose of Guillaume and Jean. The Book of Duchess is written after the death of Blanche, wife of Chaucer's patron, John of Gaunt, a graceful poem. This poem shows the prayerful mind of the person who prays to Virgin Mary, where they could see the miracles of her. Now coming to the Italian period. This period is from 1373 to 1386. When he had been to Italy, came in contact with Dante, Petrarch, and Boccaccio. Dante and Petrarch influence was least on Chaucer. Based on Boccaccio's work, To Philostrato, the love-smitten one, Chaucer wrote Troilus and Cresside in 8,200 lines. So actually this poem was very much a mood. This poem, Philostrato, has influenced Chaucer a lot. It is a beautiful love story. Troilus is a perfect lover, Pandarus, who is a virginal friend to Troilus and at last became uncle to Cresside. So it is written in rhyme royal. Rhyme royal means stanza of 7 lines. So actually he got influenced by this poem, and which inspired him to write Troilus and Cresside. Next poem during this period was House of Fame, which was written in octosyllabic couplets. Poet is carried by a great eagle from Temple of Venus in sandy wilderness up to the Hall of Fame. And this Hall of Fame is named as House of Fame. It stands for Rock of Ice. And next poem was The Legend of Good Women, which was written in heroic couplet. He thought of writing 19 tales about this, but he could complete only 8 tales. Actually, he thought of writing about the women who were virtuous and who were very popular during their time. Now, coming to the English period, it was between 1386 to 1400. It is a period of masterpiece where Chaucer wrote Canterbury Tales, where it became very famous, and these tales were also called Lazy Man's Tales. It was very influenced, and it is very important in exam point of view, and it takes some time to explain about these tales. Friends, in the next video we can discuss, and I'm going to explain you in detail about 4 important tales in exam point of view, and these poems explain us how Chaucer explained and how he created an image during that time, and still by listening to these 4 tales even we cannot forget him. So Chaucer is also called the father of poetry, and he was the first national poet. So coming to his defects, actually these are a few, where Matthew Arnold found Chaucer deficient in ideals and seriousness. So he was not too serious about his writings, where he wrote too lengthy, and which makes readers feel little bit boring. So he says, to our praise, therefore, Chaucer as a poet, there must be this limitation. During this age, even some other poets were in fame. They are John Barber, who wrote Bruce, William Langland, who wrote Piers the Plowman, and a treatise on the astrolabe, John Gower, who wrote Confessio Amantis, Speculum Meditantis, Vox Calmantis. Friends, here is about the Chaucer's Age. I hope you understood well. And in the next video, we are going to see the Canterbury Tales. Very soon I am going to interact with you about these tales. All the best.